AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump saying a couple of things over the weekend. Number one, bumping up against the 60-day deadline to obtain congressional authorization to continue with hostilities. Trump sent a letter to congressional leaders saying the hostilities have ceased, so there's no need for any congressional action on authorizing additional use of force. Though he then said that resuming strikes is a possibility if they misbehave, and he would also like to see the remaining estimated 15% of Iran's ballistic missile capacity eliminated.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, you know, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
And maybe it's better we don't have a deal.
I'm so busy with the Iranians trying to make a good deal, and we're not going to let that happen. But they've got to make a bad deal. But if they make a deal at all, because frankly, maybe we're better off not making a deal at all. Do you want to know the truth? Because we can't let this thing go on. Been going on too long.
Maybe we're trying to make a deal. Maybe we shouldn't try to make a deal, but we're not leaving.
If we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years.
Well, General Jack Keane provided this analysis of the options the president has, probably something that along the lines of what he was briefed on by his senior command staff. Here's where things are, and here's the choices the president has from which to make a decision.
Well, first of all, I mean, where are we right now? You know, so the American people understand. We've been 3+ weeks into an attempt to negotiate after the Iranians shut down the straits. The administration believed that there would be an opportunity here for negotiations. I think the Iranians put some feelers out there that convinced our negotiators that there clearly was some realistic possibilities here, and none of that turned out to be the case. Because the hardliners in charge are not about to present to President Trump a deal that he's willing to accept. That's number one. Number two, he's not going to make a bad deal himself. So we have a stalemate here. They own the Straits of Hormuz, and we have shut down all their exports with the blockade. So we could continue that, and because the blockade is definitely effective. And we can make a huge list of everything that's happening to the Iranians in terms of the economic peril and the suffering is about to take place. But you have to, again, recognize who are we really dealing with here. The guys running the regime, all they care about is staying in power. They don't care about their people. They've demonstrated that time and time again in terms of their economic peril that they put them in themselves and also killing them to make certain they stay in power. So they, in their minds, can outlast us in the sense that political pressure, getting closer to the midterms, economic pressure with gas prices on the administration, they believe, even though we have the economic blockade, at some point we will end the war, stop everything, or make a deal with them that meets some of their objectives. The other alternative was to recognize that they are steadfast in that, and they will certainly don't care about their people suffering. The people that think this is going to cause a collapse and they're going to make a deal, I think they're underestimating who these guys really are. So the reality is, then what else are our options? Well, I think option one is return and finish what we started. We spent 3 weeks here trying to work something out with these guys. We have assigned objectives to the CENTCOM, so does Israel. We're 2 weeks short of accomplishing that. Let's go finish that once and for all. Complete that mission that we've given to them. And we can go through a list of targets, but there's leadership targets out there, there's ballistic missiles out there, there's a remnants of the nuclear program that's out there, there's drone storage that's out there, and energy infrastructure, etc. There's plenty of targets that we have assigned that we want to finish, and we have twice the amount of combat power to do that from when we started. And the Israelis are flush with munitions. Also, what do we do about the Straits of Hormuz? We can't leave them in Iranians' hands. They believe now they own it. We have to militarily force that to be cleared and secured and open. And we have the military capability to do that. Another option, what do we do about Karg Island? Karg Island is blocked right now by our blockade. An option when we finish military operations, or maybe even start with military operations, it's an option the president has, certainly, and likely was discussed. We could destroy it. And that would force an eventual economic collapse of the regime. There's no doubt about that. They don't have much alternatives because literally 80% of their revenue comes from that distribution of oil itself right out of that one place. So those military options went through discussions last week, and the president has those decisions to make.
What decision should he make? We'll put that question to John Bolton, former assistant to the president for national security affairs, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So what's your assessment of General Keane's analysis, and if it's on point, the decision that the president should make at this juncture?
Well, I think it's basically correct. I think the ceasefire was a big mistake. The country that benefits from that is Iran. They're able to dig out, try and regroup, try and pull themselves together, try and get ready for the next phase of what they see as an existential conflict. And so for 3 weeks, we haven't been bombing targets inside Iran, which is totally good news for them. The idea that there was ever a chance that the regime would give us something to negotiate, I think it's just crazy. I think these 3 weeks in terms of the negotiations have been a waste of oxygen. So what to do? I think the president may have started the first step of opening the Strait of Hormuz for traffic other than Iranian traffic. In other words, let's get the Gulf Arab oil and gas out into international markets. Now, we have conflicting reports this morning that maybe that first step isn't that great, but at least it sounds like that's the way the administration was thinking.
You're talking about his Project Freedom that he announced over the weekend?
To get some ships in ports on the Arab side of the Gulf out. That at least would clear them out if they could get them out, and hopefully make it easier for ships to come in at some point and get loaded. But the second point is, let's just go back and finish the job that we stopped because of the ceasefire. There are various reports that perhaps 25% of Iran's missile capacity, drone capacity, other military capacities still exist. They've been digging out their arsenals and storehouses underground to get missile launchers and missiles out, for example. Great. Now that they've opened them up, let's destroy them again. So there's a lot of work to do here to continue to put pressure on the Iranian regime. Ultimately, there's only one answer here, and this has been true for 20 years. People just haven't been willing to face up to it, and that's get a new regime in Tehran. This regime is a militaristic, authoritarian regime of religious fanatics. They're the people who are making the Middle East, and indeed, with their nuclear threat, the wider world, a dangerous place.
So if regime change were the objective, stated or unstated, then what from the rundown of options would you suggest? Do you destroy Karg Island, as General Keane says, and then the regime ultimately falls because now they're completely cut off from the ability to economically sustain themselves? Or is that some sort of ground force? Is a ground force required?
No, I wouldn't attack Karg Island as long as our blockade is effective, and I think it is effective. Iran's not earning any money because it's not selling any oil and gas, and if there is to be a new regime, you don't want to destroy their chance to revive the Iranian economy, which was in terrible shape, indeed desperate shape, even before the attacks began.
Right.
I don't think we need U.S. ground forces. I don't think Trump's going to put them in any event. But remember, this is a country of 90 million plus people, the overwhelming majority of whom despise the regime, which is at its weakest point, really, even before the attacks began, since it took power in 1979. What the administration has not done, at least that we're aware of, is help the opposition, which is very widespread but poorly organized and under-resourced. They need telecommunications, they need money, they need weapons. We can do a lot to help them pull the regime down from inside. We've already eliminated hundreds of the top leadership figures. The military attacks have severely degraded the instruments of Iranian state power that repress its people and threaten us internationally. If we keep doing that, aid the opposition, I think regime change can come from within.
The they that constitute the opposition, who is the they? Do we have a real handle on that?
Well, it's as I say, it's widespread but not well organized. There are organized factions. The Kurds are very well organized. The Baluchis in southern and southeastern Iran are organized. Both of them are armed. And what we should be looking for is helping the opposition find defectors from the regular Iranian military, not the Revolutionary Guard, who are the hopeless extremists, but figures from the regular military, figures from the civilian side, who see that the ship is going down and don't want to go down with it. You don't have to have a government in exile waiting to go in. In fact, I don't think you can impose a government from outside. The most likely outcome, if we could get organized, is a military government to help restore order. And it's going to take years for the Iranians themselves to figure out what the long-term plan would be. But we can't talk about any of that until the regime falls.
So Project Freedom to get non-Iranian ships in and out, maintain the blockade, resume the strikes, the targets that have already been identified, as General Keane was talking about, and help to fund, resource, and organize the internal opposition. And then let's see. Let's check back in 3 or 4 weeks and see where things stand.
Yeah, I mean, others can help the opposition. The Israelis can. I think some of the Gulf Arab states can. But people have to come to grips with this central point. Iran is still dedicated to getting nuclear weapons. It's still supporting international terrorism, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Shia militia in Iraq, conducting international terrorist acts in Europe and the United States. And now we know capable of extorting the entire global economy by closing the Strait of Hormuz. How long are you prepared to have that regime in power?
Right. And the other thing that should have been clear for many generations, it seems to me, but it's been internalized, it would seem, by this administration, the idea that some of these international organizations can provide or desire to truly provide any material support, any commensurate commitment to this goal of deposing the regime and denuclearizing Iran, from a weapons perspective, I think was really brought home by the UN granting Iran a role at a conference on nuclear non-proliferation. So, I mean, the idea we could tie international monitors, the UN, our Western European NATO allies. This is going to be something that America and Israel do with Gulf states allies, even if they're allies of convenience. That's how it's going to get done or not done.
Well, yeah, a lot of our friends in Europe and Canada talk about the rules-based international order. Who in Iran missed that memo?
Right.
It has never existed. It doesn't exist now. I think the Europeans made a big mistake by trying to say this is not their war. They were responding to Trump failing to consult with them in advance, and that was a mistake on his part, as Trump failed to make the case to the American people for whatever his objectives are. I still can't give you a good fix on what he really thinks his objective is. But the Europeans reacted like school children, and it was petulant. Now Trump's in a similar petulant fashion, saying he's going to pull 5,000 American troops out of Germany. We need leaders think about their country's national interest and what strategically is important, not kind of picking on each other as if they're on a playground somewhere.
Although, I mean, it's hard to argue that Trump has not been the one to show the most stick-to-itiveness here in the last half century. Could leave right now, as he said. That's what even a lot of Republicans want him to do, and he's not doing it because he doesn't want to come back in 6 months or 3 years or 5 years. So that's forward-looking beyond his term.
Well, I think he has always, from the 2016 campaign forward, said he was determined Iran wouldn't get a nuclear weapons program, which is the right position. My point is simply that the only way you can guarantee that is get a different regime in place that's committed not to pursuing nuclear weapons. It's committed to doing what we got Muammar Gaddafi to do in Libya in 2003 and 2004, which is allow the U.S. and the UK to come in and box up his nuclear weapons program, which now resides at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, right next to which we could put the Iranian nuclear program.
It's interesting, too, excuse me, a Harvard-Harris poll that came out the third week of April, 74% of those surveyed think the U.S. is winning the war in Iran, including 60% of Democrats and 91% of self-identified Republicans, 70% of independents. 74% think the U.S. is winning, despite the agitprop from the D.C. press corps and their Dem overlords to the contrary. So it seems to me that Trump has sort of the political capital to do something on the order of what you and General Keane was intimating as well, are suggesting they do right now.
Yeah, I think he needs to do more to continue to make the case to the American people. I mean, this regime has been entrenching itself for 47 years. We attacked for 6 weeks. Big surprise, the regime hasn't fallen yet. Well, no kidding.
Yeah, right.
That's why I think the ceasefire was a mistake, because it has given him at least some reprieve from the attack, some ability to regroup and reconstitute, which we now need to destroy again.
Maybe it's got, I mean, I think you can argue whether or not it's gone on too long, but don't you think in part Trump wants to be seen as and the Israelis too, even to some extent, want to be seen as offering Iran an off-ramp, that there is a way to negotiate the peace. We're not trying to level the regime. So here's an opportunity, and if you refuse to if you don't miss the opportunity, then we'll have to do it the hard way.
Well, and he's given him 3 weeks. There's absolutely no sign that they've come up with anything that's within the range of reason. So I think that nobody can say he didn't try. The Iranians didn't give him any possibility for progress. Let's go back and finish the job.
John Bolton, former assistant to the president for national security affairs, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for having me.
And Ambassador Bolton joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute,